Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Latched Mama podcast. It's been a while since I have been here, but I'm here with a new little baby boy. Got to bear with me. We're about 2 weeks into this new little life with baby number 6, but we are here to podcast today about something that's super important, and I'm excited to be able to share it with you guys. But we have Sara Babb here, who is an LCSW and is in private practice, and she focuses on perinatal mental health. And we are going to talk today about birth and birth trauma and when things don't go exactly the way that we plan them to go. How we come out okay and hopefully healthy on the other side. You're listening to the Latched Mama podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, business owner and tired mom of 5. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, nursing, parenting, and all things motherhood. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we also have Corey here too.
Hey.
I guess I should probably, you guys know Corey. Corey's been here many, many times.
I'm always here.
She's my little loss buddy. We've done a few podcasts on loss together and then pregnancy after loss. And she has her new little baby.
She's not so little.
Compared to this little peanut. But yeah, we're going to just kind of chat about birth today. And I'm really excited to have an expert here because we can...
Ooh, expert.
Expert, I know. No, okay.
Sounds scary.
I know. So somebody who can help us really, truly kind of dial into those really important things that we focus on after we have a baby. Is that better?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
I like that.
Cool. So I would say that one of the number one questions that we see like in our Latched Mama Love group, which for those of you who are not in it, go check it out because I would like to think that it is the most supportive mothering space on the internet. Hopefully, if we moderate it well. Corey will be back from maternity leave at some point.
So
and we'll,
excited.
And we'll come
Make
back
sure you
and
guys behave.
and make sure everybody's nice to one another. But one of the most seen, I would say, questions is about what happens when things don't go exactly the way that we expect them to go. And I don't think any birth probably goes exactly the way anybody expects it to go. But it's really interesting when these questions come up because I've watched it and it's either immediately when somebody gets pregnant again. We see a lot of people who start questioning then, or they're deep into their next pregnancy, or they're at home suddenly without a care provider and they're stuck. So it's interesting. It's interesting to kind of look and see what we can do in those moments and how we can take care of each other and how we can take care of ourselves. So, Sara, you want to get us started?
Sure. Where to start? So I literally was in the daycare pickup line today, and there's a mom who's due in just a couple weeks, and it's her second, and we were kind of all talking like, oh my God, and it made me think about my story of like everything ended up being fine and everything was great, but like my kid wasn't born in a barn, but she sure tried. She sure tried to be born in a barn. So like even those little tiny things you just don't expect. I was crying at work all day one day and had a baby the next day. It's nothing ever happens kind of as we plan it.
Yep.
And I think these little babies teach us that.
100%.
And they're going to continue to teach us that. And I think we get stuck in this place of thinking there is a should. And so when my clients are in therapy with me, I don't accept two things from them. I don't accept shoulds and I don't accept sorries. And it's not mean. And it's just, we don't need to have a should or a sorry in therapy. Like I'm going to take you and work with you wherever you are, and wherever you are is perfect and wonderful. And we're going to get through whatever we need to. But there isn't a should because there's no right way to do any of it.
I love that. And I feel like we're living in a society sometimes where between social media and just kind of this materialistic, like push of selling you the things that make things prettier or the things that make things perfect. You know, we're pushing ourselves to a place where things need to be beautiful and things need to be, you know, looking perfect, where I can tell you this is baby number 6. And I wanted to do this podcast 2 weeks postpartum because I wanted to not be too far out of it myself to say, oh my gosh, nothing is beautiful. And nothing, I mean, there are very many things there when I make out with my baby and kiss him all over his face. I mean, it's very beautiful. And my other kids hold the baby. It's very beautiful. But it's a hot mess.
Motherhood is messy.
Oh, it is so messy. And it's putting one foot in front of the other and finding, you know, the beauty and the happiness, if you can, in those moments. But when you first came in today, I loved the idea that you gave me your 3 things that you, I don't know, you talked to moms about, or how do you phrase that?
Yeah. So in early on in treatment, I may or may not mention it to people, but like the things that I'm looking out for in that intake appointment or the first couple appointments is how much sleep is this mama getting?
Yep.
How much or how little is she eating and when? Like, are you eating throughout the day or are you just eating at night after baby goes to sleep?
Yep.
And where's the support? And that might be a partner, that might be a family member, it might be a friend, a doula, whoever it is, and how well are we sharing with those supports? Because we might have the supports and we just don't want to share that because my mama brain says I should do all of it. Yeah. And sure, you can. And you can also not, and it'll be all okay.
It's so funny. It's so funny to hear you say that because I hope that anybody that's listening to this right now has this like kind of chuckle, you know, ding, ding, ding in their head where, you know, it's funny. The postpartum experience is probably very different for a lot of people, but I feel like there's a thread that kind of puts it all together for everyone. You know, I was talking to Corey when she first got here that I was on the high maintenance weight plan right now with this baby, which is just jokingly that the pediatrician who I'm lucky enough to have come to my house, so much privilege just in that statement alone, but it's still difficult. But the pediatrician is coming to my house to weigh my baby every few days because I'm a lactation consultant. I know what I need to do to make breast milk. I know how to feed my baby, but I wasn't eating. And it's one of those things that it's like, why wasn't I eating? I wasn't eating because I didn't want to eat. But I knew I needed to eat. And it's just this spiral thing where if you feed your body, you mentally start feeling better. You have more energy. You can care for your baby better. Sometimes you just don't really want to eat, you know? So it's just this cycle of taking care of yourself and making sure that there's somebody there who's supporting you.
And I think sometimes we can have that supportive partner. We can have those supportive parents. We can have the friends and everybody saying, do this, do that, do this. And you might know, like you might be a professional in your field and know, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. But it doesn't make it easier. And I think sometimes we all deserve to have that outside professional reminder of like, this is okay. And this is what needs to happen. And everything is going to work out. It's not going to be perfect always, but things are going to work out in the way that they work out. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's easier, but we do have to make those changes for ourselves because we deserve that. And until we do that, we're not going to be able to make those changes for our kid.
So for those of you who are sitting listening to this postpartum right now and you have not eaten, get up and go.
Here's your reminder.
A sandwich. Go have a snack. Okay, well, let's talk about birth. And let's talk about maybe how to set expectations to be flexible. I know a lot of people go into kind of pregnancy, especially that 3rd trimester, and make themselves a birth plan.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So I think birth plans are great and wonderful and beautiful. I also think that sometimes we forget that it's just that it's a plan. So like I have my notebook with my plans of what I needed to do today. Am I going to hit that mark? No, probably not. But I had the intention. And so it's setting those intentions of what you would like. So maybe you don't get the beautiful water birth, unmedicated, everything, you know, birth. But maybe you get a birth with a partner or a parent or somebody by your side and a baby that comes out and is mostly healthy. And that's the goal, is to have a baby. And sometimes that happens, and sometimes unfortunately that's not the result, but we have to work through the process. We can't stop it, and we can't change it. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. And the hardest thing is not to struggle with that process. Trust the process.
One of the things that we've had Emily Bruno on this podcast quite a few times. One of the best things she has said to me as a doula is that we don't call it a birth plan. We call it our birth preferences.
Yes.
Because these are things that we would prefer to happen, but it's may not, and you need to be okay with that. And if you can't get okay with that while you're pregnant, then you need to have a really great support system afterwards to help you deal with the aftermath.
Or you could get a therapist to help you understand while you're pregnant that things may or may not go the way that you would like them.
Yeah. I remember like this baby was our quote unquote farm baby. We had moved from the house that I had all the previous babies at to this farm. And we wanted one last baby because we have our babies at home, and we wanted to kind of bless the house with one last baby. And, and I started as a mom had already had 5 babies. I started contracting really early, like 35, 36 weeks. And I had this incredible fear that I can't have a home birth before 37 weeks. What happens if I have to have this baby in the hospital? And I remember my therapist saying to me, so you have the baby in a hospital, like, let's talk about what that would look like. Let's talk about the fact that if that happened, you're not letting anybody down. And I was like, no, wait, I am letting people down because my husband wants to have this baby at home. And she was like, yeah, no. I mean, you're going to have, she was very sweet, but she was like, you're going to have to find joy, in a plan other than that, because it could potentially happen. And, let's talk about some things that could be good about that side of it, So I think that you're so right in the idea that the first lesson that these babies ever teach us is the fact that things are somewhat out of our control.
Yes.
And it was such an amazing moment. I remember a lot of people on this podcast know that I had my first baby in the back of a car, and I was so type A. I was selling real estate. My husband and I had traveled the world. We had had an early loss, and then we got pregnant, and the pregnancy was easy and great, and everything was fantastic. And we labored at home all day, and we had taken all of the classes, and everything was great. And it was this absolutely gorgeous day. And 10 years later, I can say it was a perfect day. But we sat down on the couch, and I was like, I think I might be in labor, and I think I might have been in labor all day. I called the midwife, I took a bath, and suddenly I had to have my baby. And like, we were alone, and it was nighttime, and it was terrifying. We had him on the side of the road. But I can tell you that baby, Nathan, literally taught me that motherhood was to be completely prepared for the unexpected. And it has completely shaped how I parented all the rest of my kids, how I built this business. One of the coolest lessons ever, but holy moly, was there a lot of processing on the other side of that birth, which I think is such an important thing for us to give ourselves the time and space to do. Can you help talk a little bit about maybe if somebody doesn't have access to a therapist, or different ways that they can kind of process things on the other side, maybe?
Yeah. So there are a lot of therapists out there. Richmond has a really great kind of birth and baby scene, I guess. We have quite a few providers out there that do specialize in perinatal mental health. Some people, therapy is just, they're not ready for it. It's not for them. They're having trouble making it a part of their everyday, which is a reason to go to therapy if you're having trouble making therapy work. Just that's a side note. But there are also support groups. And right now, because of COVID, a lot of them are all of the ones that I know of are virtual. And so the Postpartum Support Virginia website has a great list. I love to reference it as I'm talking about it with people, because I can be like, oh, tonight you could go to this support group and tomorrow you can go to this support group. And they have that for people like pregnancy after loss. They have really specific things. They have ones for mamas of color. They have ones for military families. And then they just have general support. They have general empowerment groups. And those are all really great. They're hosted, some of them by hospital systems, some of them by organizations.
Are these national or are they all within
The
Virginia?
ones on the Postpartum Support Virginia website are all Virginia specific. If you go to the Postpartum Support International website, which I believe is postpartum.net, they have an even more extensive list. And so that's one that I find myself referring to as much or more sometimes because they have really specific groups for those needs. I think the challenge with anything is, a support group for parents that have had a loss, a pregnancy or an infant loss. They have one at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time on Mondays, which is great. But those working parents can't attend that. So I can help you figure out how to do FMLA to be able to attend a support group. But, that's still a challenge that we have to overcome, is to find those supports that are going to be accessible to people, especially those people who might not be able to do it because of work.
Yeah. Do you have any other advice in terms of processing? I mean, are you a fan of journaling or? So
I'm a fan of journaling. If you're a journaler, I would love to be a journaler. I am not a journaler myself, but I can tell you all day about it. The only thing I think is really tough is when you have a lot of trauma, whether that's around conception, fertility stuff, childbirth, or anything else, any other type of trauma, just being aware that journaling can sometimes bring stuff up that is hard to put back down.
Yep.
And so often it's gentle journaling. One of the best things my therapist did with me one time was all right, so you're not going to journal every day for 30 minutes. Can you journal one word a day?
Wow.
And just write one word down. And if something else comes out, that's great. If nothing else comes out, you've done one word, and maybe do it once in a week. And so giving me permission to do one word a week, I was doing 3 and 4 a couple times a week.
Like a sentence on how you're feeling?
No, literally just
word or just
connection.
Word?
And so then I just wrote the word connection, and then I just thought about it.
Wow.
And it made me think. And so sometimes I would talk about write lists of I want this. And so if I give the example of connection, I want to feel connected to this. I'm not feeling connected here. I am feeling connected here. It could bring stuff out. And sometimes it was just you write the word down, and
that's fascinating.
That's as deep as I wanted to go that day.
Wow. Okay. So I would love every woman whose birth does not go as planned to have a therapist.
I would love every woman who has a birth or has no birth to have a therapist, and man.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm dialing this down very specifically for this podcast.
Yes.
I agree with you. I
Absolutely.
100% agree with you. I think that I'm coming to learn that therapy is a good thing. But let's, for the sake of this.
Yes.
It's not going to we could take every profit dollar that comes out of this company and put it towards helping support women, and we're never going to get there. We can't even get 4 weeks of paid maternal leave for women in the United States. So I really, really want to make sure that we're not just talking today about how therapy can help, because I think that we need to talk about that, because I think it is more attainable than people realize. I think the fear and the vulnerability aspect of it hold a lot of women back from reaching out and trying to find support. So I think that there's definitely that at play. But I also think that there are a lot of places where it's just not there, either financially, or honestly, we've gotten ourselves so far down in some sort of spiral situation, or lack of support, lack of food, lack of sleep, that the idea of even trying to find something right now, it just seems like the most daunting thing in the world, because you also have a newborn and you're also healing from, trauma, from grief, from fear of the unknown, all of those things. So what do we do? Give me the magic answer.
Wow.
What I know, what do we tell that? I think that there's probably a significant amount of population who show up on our Facebook group, and like, I'm not trained. All I can do is say, here are some resources, here are some links, make sure you're eating and you're sleeping, and
so absolutely, like, finding some sort of connection. So maybe that does look like a Facebook group.
Yep.
Some Facebook groups are really unhealthy.
Yep. Not ours.
But finding a healthy one like yours.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Can be a saver. I am a big proponent of like using apps like Peanut, which is like Tinder for moms. If you guys haven't heard of
Wow,
that,
no.
that's a
I've
really
never
cool
heard of
resource. It is literally like Tinder for moms.
You swipe?
Yes,
Yeah.
you swipe up and down.
What?
To
Yes.
like make friends locally. Yeah,
I
it's
can't-
really cool.
Oh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
And so I like,
but not in a bad way, like in a really, really good way, but like friends in general.
Oh, in a
are
social
just-
anxiety way, it's a no
Yeah.
for me, but it's a fantastic
Wow.
idea.
yeah, it's a great idea. I was with my my partner before, before Tinder was a thing. And so like, I was like, I've never swiped up or down for people. Like, this is weird. I guess Tinder is side to side, right? But this is up and down. And then when you make a match, they're like, it's like peanut butter and jelly because it's called Peanut.
Oh, that's cute.
It's
Wow.
really precious.
I feel like though it's kind of a little like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to like swipe away from anybody. I feel like, isn't that kind of mean?
No,
But, I mean, I know
because
you're going to come to it from some sort of therapy thing saying we're not going to connect with everybody in life. I get it, but I still think it's kind of mean.
well, it's not that I don't want to see you. You can set it to say like, not today. Or, like, I would
Right.
like to chat to them. And then you can always reach out to people, whether or not you're a match. They invite you to talk to everybody who matches you. They tell you if somebody's swiped up for you or down for you. And it's not saying I don't like you. It's just saying, I have a 3-year-old girl. I don't really want to have a play date with somebody who has an 8-year-old boy. It's not my ideal situation. Or somebody who lives an hour away
Right.
that showed up in my group. But they also have things like, they call them pods. And so
Okay.
they're, people will join a little group and it's like a phone conversation, kind of like I don't know, those things where you hop on and like house party call kind of thing.
Okay.
And you can talk about different things and there's forums on there. And so Peanut is one example. I have some that love like some of the forums that like pregnancy forums that they hopped on when they were pregnant. And now everybody in the group has babies at this point and they still look at it. Some of it has drama, some of it doesn't. You take what you need.
So
Right.
the answer is connection.
Yeah, I think connection
Which I think
is
is
one.
great because I feel like that's such a big part of the therapy process in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a therapist, my biggest job is to build a connection with somebody, build a healthy relationship and have healthy boundaries in place, have somebody that you feel safe with and connection. And so if it's in therapy and that's where you find connection, that's great. But it's also, I need you to also, if you're in therapy, I need you to also find connection naturally because it doesn't have to be just one way to connect.
Yeah.
And some of it, like I listed a lot of stuff that's online. Like
Yeah.
there are real life things. I think sometimes having it right there on your phone is quick and helpful. But I also encourage people like take it to the next level. See if you can find a play date, find a neighbor, even if it's just to wave to somebody. I remember when my baby was about the age of yours, we went on a walk in the neighborhood and I was doing something, struggling with a stroller or something. And some mom came up to me and was like, hey, and started talking to me. And I was like, so thankful that, oh my gosh, I've been alone with the baby. I needed an adult to talk to me.
Absolutely.
That like, and I didn't know her. She had cute kids. They were eating really yummy snacks. It looked like I wanted snacks, but didn't get any. And it was really cool because I knew that in my head. And when I moved out of that neighborhood, I don't know if you guys are on Buy Nothing or anything on Facebook and stuff. Yeah. So my last Buy Nothing pickup was with that mom. And I was
That's
able to
so
tell her
cool.
like,
Meant to be.
yeah, you were the first person I talked to like
After I had a baby.
after I had a baby in the neighborhood, and that now you're like the last connection I have with this neighborhood, which was so cool. And like, am I friends with her? No. But like, was I able to have like a really authentic connection with somebody in that moment? Yes.
I love
But
that.
It doesn't have to be forever.
But it took you getting outside to go for a walk.
Yes. And you don't even have to go out for a walk. Just go out and get some sun. Your body needs it. Your baby needs it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if that's what it is, that's great. To meet kind of that need, one thing that I'm doing in therapy is I'm offering walk and talk sessions. So like we can meet at a park, because everything I do is teletherapy, and that's great. But if one of your like treatment goals is to find connection and movement and get out of the house because you've been so isolated with baby, like I'm going to help you meet that goal, and we're going to go out and we're going to walk at the park. And I think that's really important, because then that helps people get out and kind of take that first step.
I love that. And sometimes it's a little bit of getting out of your comfort zone. Like even if you're living in your sweats that are dirty for 4 days and haven't washed your hair, like just, make the effort to go out, even go for a walk, get some sunshine. My sister is, she's an extrovert, and she's one of those people that she can strike up conversations in the line at the grocery store and at the park, and she forces me out of my house to take my kids to the park when I don't feel like it, and strikes up a conversation with absolutely anyone and makes friends right there on the spot. And it really forces me to say hi, how are you? How old are your kids? Make a connection with people I would not normally talk to, and realize that I'm an adult and I need adult conversation other than dealing with my kids.
Yeah. So if you're an introvert, find an extrovert that likes you. They're probably looking for an introvert to like.
They'll adopt you.
Adopt.
So
and if you're an extrovert, find an introvert you like. They're out there.
They totally will.
So I feel like we're definitely touching on just general postpartum stuff, which I think is so incredibly important. But if you add that extra piece of the puzzle, which is, this amazing thing that I thought, I thought there'd be Christmas lights hanging in the window, and I thought that it was going to be this beautiful, gentle birth where my husband was going to rub my back, and, the baby was going to come, softly into the world. But instead it was this, vacuum delivery that got scary, and the baby's heart rate dropped, and, and I'm at home and I'm doing all of the things, which is, feeding the baby, changing the baby, trying to feed myself, trying to keep maybe other kids, happy and content. And all of a sudden I'm processing this traumatic experience that happened in my head. But I don't necessarily have, the ability to find a therapist or somebody to really talk to about it. I feel like we're kind of landing at the idea that finding somebody to talk about it with is probably better than keeping it all inside.
Yeah.
Is that,
Just call me out, why don't you?
I'm not poor Corey.
No, I love it.
But I feel like that's kind of where we're getting to, is that staying with it all in our head is probably not the safest, healthiest place to be.
Yeah.
But for a while, maybe it is. I don't know. Talk to me about like from like a non-therapist perspective, but knowing what you know as a therapist.
Absolutely.
Like what do we do?
Where do we
with that?
start? Like if you have bottled, just, asking for a friend / myself. If you have bottled it all up because you don't know how to deal with it, how do you start?
I think just finding that small little connection, like I said with the journaling, just one word at a time.
Yep.
And finding what it is, seeing, what's going on in my body when this comes up. Maybe it's something that your baby does. Maybe it's something your partner says. Maybe it's something a coworker does. And just finding, like, checking in with your body, because so often when we have trauma, you like bottle it up, and it's safer that way, right? No, it's not. It's really not after a while.
Yeah.
And I know that's the therapist in me, but like also just as a human, like it gets dangerous.
Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah, The Body Keeps the Score is a great book about that.
But it's interesting that like it all can start to manifest in different ways.
Yeah.
With blood pressure, with, eating differently,
Headaches, body aches.
I get migraines now. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's very, very fascinating that trauma in general can affect so much more than just your mental health. So we keep coming back to this. So it's finding that small connection, finding that way to start talking about it. But and this is going to be I'm a believer now in the whole talking therapy thing, but I can tell you from somebody who wasn't always there, what does opening it up and talking about it, is it the validation process that helps you?
I think that's one of the biggest things is like knowing, hey, I'm not alone. Like, I didn't realize I was the only one who thought that or had that feeling, or other people had that happen to them too. Like, these are okay things. These are normal things. Especially with like grief and loss or trauma, you know, you feel like you're on an island and you feel like this thing has happened to me. And I'm not saying it to minimize it, because your trauma is huge. It's important. It deserves to be felt. It deserves to be handled with care and love. But like, there are other people that also have that, and they can kind of heal with you or heal beside you. Like, you don't have to do it by yourself.
And we're getting back to connection at that point.
Yeah.
Is that there's just, you know, that moment where you realize that somebody does care and somebody does want to listen to you, and, you know, whether they can validate what you're saying or not. Like, I can't meet necessarily Corey where she is right now in terms of my birth experience, but I can tell her that I hella care about her, you know, and I will listen to her all day long.
And I think we kind of get into this trope of like, oh, well, let me tell you my birth story, or oh, let me tell you that.
It kind of becomes a competition.
That doesn't help.
And
that really doesn't.
It really
does. So it's not about, oh, I had this happen to me, and you know, I understand. That is like it's a really scary, dangerous way to treat things, of saying, oh, I had this so I can understand. No, absolutely not. Like, you had that, and maybe that's okay, and maybe that helps you understand. But like, right now, this isn't about like you as a person, what you've had. It's about that person. And if you're the one on the side of like needing to open up, it is not about, you're not going out to hear all these terrible birth stories, because people have them. They'll tell you.
Yep.
They will tell you. Yep. And like, I think I did that to you, Corey, when we were talking. I was like, oh, I know this person. And like, that was terrible of me. And it's not malicious.
So
you're also
of
not
it.
Working right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not malicious, but it can be harmful and minimizing. And so if you're that person that's caring for that mom that might have had that, or dad, or anybody that had that trauma, it's not about, I know so-and-so had this and this helped them. It is, I am so sorry. That was not how it should have gone. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're safe. What do you need? And sometimes it's not even what do you need, because if I asked you right now, what do you need? You probably couldn't tell me.
No,
but
can't come up with it.
If I said, hey, can I bring you dinner on Thursday? You could say, oh my God, thank you.
I feel like I'm having
so
a
much.
conversation with Sara Fielding, who's also been on the podcast previously, but she's been like, her and another friend have just been a rock getting over birth trauma, because you need that person that not only is going to listen without any judgment or talk over you when you're ready to talk, but also that person that doesn't wait for you to say like, hey, I need this. They just decide, hey, she probably doesn't want to cook dinner tonight. I'm going to drop it off. I'm not going to ask like, can I bring this over? Can I cuddle your baby? Hey, I'm just going to come over. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to drop off Starbucks and I'm going to go. Your house doesn't have to be clean. I don't have to stay and visit, but I just want you to know I want to hear. I want to help.
Yeah, there's that text that went viral. I don't know. I think it was on to Today's Show Instagram feed actually today, where a woman was going through a loss. And the text message said, I'm going to give you 5 options. You know, option 1 is I'm going to come take your kids to Chick-fil-A at 3:30 and bring you takeout. Option 2 is I'm going to get whatever you need from Target and leave it on your front porch and you don't have to see anybody or talk to anybody. You know, option number 3 is I'm just going to send you prayers and hugs or whatever. Like, I just need to know which option you want.
Aww.
Like, very just dialed into the idea of, hey, these are the options. You know, like, what you know, what can I do for you? Without really making them think.
You're already making so many choices every day of like, when am I going to feed? How am I going to feed? What am I going to do? What am I going to eat?
It's exhausting decision making.
Yes.
So having somebody tell you like, okay, these are 3 great options. I do the same thing with my toddler. Like you get to choose between this shirt and this shirt.
I love that.
Do you want to wear Elsa or Minnie Mouse? And so like good options. So giving that person in your life or telling that person, I just need you to do something that's helpful. One thing I recommend to moms, and it's kind of like everybody's like, what? No, I'm not going to do that. But is write a list and keep it on your refrigerator of things that have to get done in your house every single day or every single week, like cleaning the cat box or wiping down the counters, sweeping, transferring laundry, folding a basket of laundry, things that are just, you could do them maybe. But like somebody else can really do those. And so when they come to visit, when they come to drop stuff off, be like, great, you can hold the baby after you clean the cat box because that's on the list. Or check out the refrigerator.
Yeah. It's so crazy because some people have those skills. And there are some people whose brains, like you're saying, like Sara, whose brains have been either taught or whatever to just kind of do it. Yep. Like I had somebody after I had the baby and they said, hey, would you like a meal train? And I said, my first reaction is I have all the privilege in the world. I can DoorDash dinner. I can Instacart dinner. I don't need anything. The idea of anybody in my world taking time to make me dinner right now seems absolutely ridiculous to me. But I can tell you the idea that I would not have to think about DoorDashing dinner. I would not have to think about anything. And the idea that it would just show up and the kids could eat it or not. And they could have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if they wanted, whatever. But like there's such an other element of not having to actually think about anything.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is something that it sounds like people have shown up and done for you.
More this pregnancy and birth than any other. I mean, I worked at Latched Mama when I had my last baby, but it was a sort of typical delivery and I was pretty comfortable afterwards. I got to enjoy my baby and not really worry so much. And this one, you know, it was scary. It was traumatic. It was a lot. And my friends showed up. Like, I can't tell you the amount of dinners that just came to my house. I was not even warned. Like, pizza was on the doorstep. Go outside and get it. I'm not asking you when you want it. Just get it. Feed your kids so you don't have to worry about it. It's great.
So any other things, like, because I feel like where this kind of ends podcast wise or where we go is like how the layperson or the friend can support the other person when they find out either they've just had a baby or, you know, maybe the birth didn't go exactly the way it needed to go, or maybe there was a loss, or, you know, how do we support each other through this? Showing up. Yeah.
Showing up.
And listening and making connection and, you know.
I think something I've learned after 4, I mean, you've had 6, so you'd noticed it too with DoorDash, but it's like, just because you don't need help doesn't mean that help wouldn't be great.
Mm-hmm. And you're so deserving of it.
I don't need anybody to watch my kids. Yeah. I'm perfectly capable of like putting on a movie so I can rest with the baby. But if somebody came and took care of them so I could actually rest, that would be amazing.
Yeah. No, and I absolutely agree.
Yes.
It's been a really interesting couple of weeks postpartum for me, and I think Lindy and I are going to podcast this at some point too. Just the idea that as like kind of life changes and as community changes, you know, Latched Mama is a very different place than it was when I had my last baby and when I had my baby before that. We've grown, and I don't want to say we've kind of lost the community, but this was very much my community for so long, and we've grown, and I think a lot of it is pandemic based. I don't know if you've seen a lot of change as we've kind of separated and as we've pulled away, but this has by far been kind of the loneliest postpartum for me, because I feel like we've started to break ties a little bit. Instead of having somebody come sit on my bed and bring me a cup of coffee, it's a text message instead. But I feel like that's kind of society in general, you know, kind of a COVID shift and change. So I think it's something that we definitely need to kind of focus on a little bit and be aware of, because it is a lonelier time to have a baby right now. You know, like it's just I don't know, because I feel like people are less used to being together.
Some people are having babies alone. Like it's really scary right now. And I think if you can't show up in person, text messages are great. Make a phone call. FaceTime with somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has Marco Polo. I really love Marco Polo. I do it with Amanda all day long, where I'm having a conversation with her It's
But she can answer it
and
when
she
she
can
wants
answer
to.
it when she gets a chance. But I'm seeing her face. I'm seeing her kids. I'm seeing
Yeah.
her dog, and we're talking about our days. And
It's
I
all
really
about
feel like I'm
connection.
I'm really connected.
We were really
You
supposed
need
to talk about birth trauma, but I
I
feel
know.
like we're talking more about connection, which I think is
connect
important.
after your birth trauma. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even if there's no trauma, even if you push a beautiful baby out in 10 minutes in your bathtub in your bedroom, I mean, it's still, I'm not saying that your trauma is not important.
No,
I'm
no.
just saying that like we
I haven't gotten
need
there yet.
to make sure that we are connecting with each other, you know?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to leave with? Any like sage thoughts of what we can do to support each other and build community?
Just be open and listening and love and
Love.
be there for each other. Like it's just showing up and whatever that looks like for that person.
Yeah.
Just show up.
All right, guys, that's the message. Go text or call
Text or call.
a friend. And yeah, that's our challenge today. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.